Have you ever thought about what it is to balance boat work and fun? Hi, I'm Nika Waters.
And I'm Carolyn Sherlock.
And on today's episode of the Boat Galley podcast, we're answering a question from a follower on Instagram. This is a shout out to Sailing Love and Luck with Steve and M aboard, and I hope that this helps answer that question for you. But first, we have a word from our sponsor. Today's episode of the Boat Galley podcast is sponsored by Lunatech, makers of the hydration spray bottle, odor-free dishcloth, and self-cleaning washcloth. Lunatech offers practical gear designed to save water and reduce waste. A water bottle that doubles as a garden hose, a dishcloth that doesn't get stinky. Yes, please. Visit lunatechgear.com to learn more. Use code BOATGALLEY to save 10% on everything. Lunatech, innovative gear for your outdoor adventures. So we posted Carolyn and I are together, which is a hoot. We never are in the same place. And we posted a thing on social media asking for people to give us questions. And Sailing Love and Luck came back with this really great question. Their actual question was, after years of preparing and appreciating both of you as sources of information, thank you very much from us, we are almost a month into cruising life, Annapolis to New Smyrna Beach so far. My burning question is when did you find balance in this lifestyle? We want to be tourists, but we're not on vacation. We have boat work responsibilities, projects, etc., but want to have fun. Any tips? Carolyn, we're going to start with you.
Well, of course, we'll have some tips. But yes, I think the number one thing is to realize that, yes, this is a hard balance to strike. And I know for Dave and I, it took most of the first year for us to really work out that feeling that we weren't constantly doing so much boat work that we weren't having any fun. I do have a number of tips, and I know Nika does too, because there are ways to seriously cut it down from a year to maybe in a month or two, getting the balance a lot better.
And so, we both were talking about this a little bit ago, and we said we definitely want to acknowledge that this is a real concern. This is a real issue, and it's hard to get at it, so thanks for asking the question. Our friend Behan over at sailingtotem.com, plug if you don't know them, please go follow them. Her take on it is to make sure you have a happiness engineer, and I think that's a great one. Have somebody who is also responsible for making sure that fun happens on the boat. So that's a tip.
And along with that, what I will say is not only do you have to have somebody who's going to take that responsibility and actually make some plans ahead of time, whatever. There are actually two other things. I found it really helpful when we started actually blocking out time for boat work and for fun time. Say we were going to work on the boat until noon or 1 o'clock, and then we were going to take the afternoon off. Or vice versa, that we were going to do something fun in the morning and then we'd do any boat projects in the afternoon. But the other thing, for most of us on a boat, we don't have unlimited funds. And so we kind of put a line item into our budget that was for fun stuff. And, if we had a beer on shore with friends, it came out of the fun stuff. If we decided to take a tour on land looking at, say, prehistoric art, it came out of the fun stuff. If we needed new snorkel gear, it came out of the fun stuff budget. But you have to set aside the money for that. And the problem does come about when something happens on the boat, and big unexpected expense, and you're looking and you're going, well, where do I get the money from this? And it's really tempting to start pulling it all from the fun. I would like to say don't take it all from fun, but look at some other areas too, like maybe your travel back home, maybe your food budget.
Maybe marinas. Maybe you're not going to spend as much time in a marina. But I think that's a great point, is to budget stuff, budget money for fun. You're budgeting time, you're budgeting money, you're budgeting energy, but definitely make that a line item. And I love your point of just having a fun budget. Our budget tends to be kind of adventures, I think we call it, but then I also have a hard time if we're going out to get a beer with friends. Are we calling it adventure or are we calling it eating out? And I think I like your idea that that's part of the fun budget. I prefer that. That's a good one.
Okay, well, another thing that I would like to say as you're doing particularly the budget of time, is that deciding in your heart of hearts, not just in your brain, but in your gut, that the fun time is every bit as much of a priority as the boat work. Now, I'll go on to say there are times when something is happening with the boat that makes it really the priority. But let's flip that on the head and say sometimes you're in a really cool spot and you will maybe have 3 or 4 days that you do strictly fun stuff. And that's the goal at the time. But you have to, at some point, say having fun is a big thing. And I can't just always knock that out of the equation.
Because it is absolutely easy to just say, oh, yeah, well, we're only going to be, we're doing boat projects because they all have to get done. Well, newsflash, boat projects are never all done. Your boat is never finished. There are always projects to do. But probably you didn't go cruising just to work on boat stuff. And I will say it was fun watching you because I know when you were in Charleston, you actually took the time and did some touristy things. And sometimes when you're in a place like that, that's what you're going to focus on. You're going to do that. And if you have big boat things that have to get done, let's say there's a leaky through hull or what have you, maybe you extend your time in Charleston. You slow down a little bit so that you can not just be doing boat work, but also be enjoying the tourist vacation-ish. I hate that term vacation because cruising is not vacation, but you can balance it a little bit better.
And that was one of the things that I was going to say that is really, really important is that when things are feeling out of control and unbalanced and so forth, slowing down is one of the best things you can do. And while Dave and I aren't really marina people, we love anchoring out, but there are times that taking a night, 2 nights, even 3 nights in a marina, taking things easier, going and just making life easy for a few days suddenly brings back the sparkle in our eyes and the smile on our face. It's huge to realize, hey, this isn't, unless you're racing weather for something, it's not a race.
And if you are racing weather, maybe at the flip side of that, when you get through the racing weather, you do treat yourself to a marina or a dinner out or whatever it is that works for you to remind yourself of some of the good things. I know we're already talking about when we get to the Bahamas, maybe we're going to take a night in the marina so we can do laundry, we can have nice long showers, and just be able to enjoy ourselves. Who knows when we're going to get to the Bahamas, but that's a whole different conversation. So slowing down, happiness engineer, budgeting time and money for it, and then
I think that's really our key things that we had to say.
And don't forget, as we're talking about this, don't forget that it's not just you and your partner or the other person that you're sailing with. It's everybody on the boat needs to have their fun time too. So if you have pets, if you have kids, don't forget to count everybody in as you're thinking about that.
Yeah, that is a big one because Dave and I, traveling with a dog for most of our cruising time, there were times when making sure that she had beach time and time to just run off leash up and down and, terrorize the gulls. That was her idea of fun, and that's what made it worthwhile to her to go on this bouncy thing with the diesel engine running.
The other thing, too, is what might be fun for you might not be fun for somebody else in your mix. But that doesn't mean that it's not important to do. And so sometimes it may be, you may love, and I'm talking about myself, I love going to farmers markets. And Jeremy will come along with me. That's not his most favorite thing to do. But there might be times that I leave him on the boat and I take myself and go to the farmers market. Because fun doesn't always have to be a boat-wide process. It can be individual.
Yes, and I think that's really important, too, that particularly if you're land life, you are not spending 24/7 together, that you do find some ways to be apart while you are cruising. Not that I don't love my husband dearly. I do. However, let's face it, 24/7, I was kind of really happy when I had an opportunity to go do something off on my own.
Which is where, if you've got the space, a second way to get off the boat can be awfully wonderful. This is getting long beyond the scope of this whole thing, but if you've got a second dinghy or a second way to get off the boat, that's helpful. Make sure, paddleboard, kayak, make sure that both of you know how to work the dinghy so that you're not stranded. And we've got a little course on that. We've got a little pamphlet on how to troubleshoot your outboard if you're looking for some ways to do that. But practice so that you can make sure both of you can start and run the engine on the dinghy, or you both can row it or sail it, whatever it works.
And with that, I think that this episode of the Boat Galley podcast is pretty much winding up. Please tell your friends about us and subscribe. We love our subscribers.
We love our subscribers, and I can't wait to share an anchorage with you wherever it happens to be. But if you're in West Palm, it's not sharing anchorage, but definitely make sure you contact Carolyn because she'd love to say hello. The Boat Galley has meetups every Friday during the winter season in West Palm Beach. And if you spot Calypso in an anchorage, please come by so we can toast to our incredible good fortune at being able to share this amazing lifestyle together. I hope you have the most spectacular week.